Hello, so thanks for tuning in to this video. So this one's going to be a bit of a kind of recreation of a classic track, also a bit of sound design and sort of a bit about how I might put my own spin on a classic track as well. So we are doing, no surprises because you've probably read the title, I Feel Love by Donna Summer. Basically what I've done is I've tried to recreate the whole thing, just all in the Deluge, so it's going to be just close up on the Deluge for this one. So all the sounds are coming from the Deluge, apart from my little remix bit where I'm using the Behringer TT3, which is off camera over here. I did say to myself before I started this video, I would aim not to knock the camera at all, and what are we, about 30 seconds in, and I've already knocked it. So anyway, so yeah, all the sounds coming from the Deluge, including the drum sounds apart from the kick drum. So I've made the hi-hat and the snare drum in a Giorgio Mororder style. The bass and everything else. So what I'm going to try and do is I'll go through each of the sounds and then just show you a little bit about how I've arranged it on here. Now, in terms of the sounds, obviously the sound design aspect of this doesn't particularly matter what bit of hardware you're using. So any synth that you've got, as long as it's got a couple of oscillators and the other bits and bobs that you need, it would work fine on that. So that's not Deluge specific. Obviously, the arrangement bit will be Deluge specific, and I will put the my Deluge project file for this up on my Patreon account. So if you subscribe to that, then you'll be able to get that for free and stick it in your Deluge. Right, let's just have a quick listen to the first bit. So we start off with this pad sound, and then I'm going to just launch the main bit of the song. Okay, so I'll deal with all these bits and sounds first of all. Now, the first to admit, it's not perfect. It's not an exact recreation. It's pretty close. But if anybody wants to suggest in the comments any areas where I can perhaps improve, then feel free to do so. I've also in this, you'll see when I get onto the verses, I've kind of managed to nick an acapella off YouTube. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to or not. I'm sure somebody will tell me if I'm not supposed to. And I'm struggling to think the timing of it's a bit weird. I've tried to mash it up and warp it in Ableton, but I don't know, it's a bit off a bit. So if anybody has got an acapella of I Feel Love, then that's all nicely at the correct tempo, 128 beats per minute, then please comment as well and let me know. So yeah, 128 beats per minute is the project. So let's have a look at this pad sound first. Let's just play it again on its own. So it's kind of, again, it's not exactly the same as the original, but I wanted to just have sort of a bit of movement in it that the original does, and this is basically how the track starts. So let's just deconstruct that. In terms of the notes, we've got like a few C's. I think we've got C2, C3, and then G3. So that's the first note. So we've got oscillator 1 on 50. Oscillator 2 is on 33. Hopefully you can see the amounts up there. Transpose, just to give it a little bit of detuning sound, just to give it that kind of swirly wah kind of sound. So I've just detuned oscillator 2 up 3 semitones. In terms of oscillator type, we're on analog saw for both. Obviously no pulse width or anything because we're on the saw. Let's have a look at the amp envelope then. So we've got 0 attack, we've got 20 decay, 50 on the sustain, and 50 on the release. So I've got a very long release on this because when it stops, I kind of wanted it just to carry on a bit over the when the main bit of the track comes in and when the vocals come in. What I've then done is filter cutoff is on 35, and filter resonance is that 35? Yes, it is. Saying that resonance is off, but okay, well, if that's what it says, then that's it. It's off. Okay, so no resonance. But although I don't know, because looking on here, I have got a bit, but you might need to just adjust that to taste. What I've then done is I've patched the low pass filter over to LFO1, just dialed a small amount in. This is just the LFO is just giving it a little bit of movement on the filter. So we've got that in there at 6 on the LFO amount, and then in terms of LFO settings, the rate is at 17. Sync is off, so I don't want it to go in time. We're using the sine wave. And I think that's pretty much it for that pad sound. So if you follow those settings, that should give you that pad. Fingers crossed. So fairly straightforward. The kick drum, all I'm doing is I'm using the 808 kit that comes with the Deluge. Okay, so nothing... sorry, excuse me. Yeah, nothing rockety sciencey there. I just cheated on that. I thought I'm not going to make a kick drum as well because I've made the snare and the hi-hats as well. So that was enough to do that. So the snare is this lovely kind of 70s, 80s snare drum sound that, you know, Kraftwerk and Giorgio Mororder loved using. So let's see how we made that, because we tried to get this choo choo. Again, it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. So oscillators, we're not using. Both oscillators are turned down to 0 because all we're doing is using the noise, which is up at full volume. So what have we done? Low pass filter we've got on 37. And again, it's saying resonance is off, but it's not. Resonance is up a little bit. You know why it's saying it's off? Because I'm an idiot and I'm pressing the wrong button. Everybody's probably screaming at the flipping the screen now, like, "Oh, come on, Rez! Do you know how to use this flipping machine?" Yeah, that's the high pass filter, isn't it? Not the resonance. Right, let me just go back to the pad and tell you what the resonance should be on there. Resonance is 11 on the pad. Jesus Christ. Right, okay. We'll pretend that didn't happen. Right, so low pass filter for the snare drum is on 37. Resonance is on 19. And again, I've mapped the filter, or I've kind of patched the filter over this time to envelope 2. I only got a really small amount of envelope amount on there, just at 2. And then the settings for envelope 2 are 0 attack, 22 decay, 43 sustain, 5 on the resonance. And the amp envelope, 0 attack, very short decay, so 11 on decay, 15 on the sustain, and 9 on the release. So that should give you that kind of choo 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 kind of snare drum sound. Again, you can tweak it to taste if you want to get it a bit more chewy, then a bit more resonance and so on. So if you just have a listen to the kick and the snare. Okay, so that's given us those. So it's a lovely, lovely old school kind of snare drum sound. So nice little bit of sound design. And it's basically just 4 to the floor on the kick, snare drum 1, 2 and 4. We then have this hi-hat sound that I've made, which is just going on the offbeat, and this is panned, I think if you remember rightly, over to the left, and then the other hi-hat's panned over to the right a little bit. And I think I used the same sounds for these, but again, it's quite a nice bit of sound design ideas just to, you know, make your own kind of trashy sort of hi-hat sound. So again, let's go through this. As with the snare drum, we've got both oscillators turned completely down. Noise is up at 31. I don't know why I put it at 31, but I did. Low pass filter is on 45. No resonance for this one, he says, although there is. Okay, which is weird. Okay, the resonance ain't doing anything, so that's fine. So yeah, 45 on the filter. Again, you can tweak it to taste, you know, if you want it a little not as bright or whatever. But yeah, 45 is what I've got it on. I don't know, strange. And then basically just to get that short thing, it's mostly down to the amp envelope on this one. So we've got 5 on attack, just to take, I don't know why. Again, I just tweaked these until I got a sound I liked. Got really, really short decay, so only 2 on decay, going down to 0 sustain, no release. So that's just giving you that nice kind of short sound. No mapping on filter envelopes or anything like that. And I think, if I remember rightly, it's just into the hi-hat. Hi-hat I think I made a little bit shorter, so same thing again, noise on 32. So I think on the, I think the main difference was on the amp envelope, the decay is down at 1 rather than 2. So everything's at 0 apart from the decay envelope. Yeah, and that's the same. So that just gave me a slightly shorter sound for the hi-hat. So if we just listen to all the drums together. Okay, that is the drums sorted. Right, the biggie, the bass line. Again, it's not perfect, but it's close. Now, a couple of things. One thing that I've looked at this a few times, and some people play it. I mean, the notes basically are, the main note, it's C, G, and A sharp. Now, I've seen some people play it from the high note first, the C first, so it's going da 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 da, and others go da 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 da. I've gone with the low note because watching the original video, the guy playing the I think it's the MS-20. I'm sure he's doing the low note first, so I'm going with that. It may be wrong, I don't know, but it kind of sounds all right to me. Now, I always thought this was like 16th notes, but it's not. If you listen to this in headphones and listen to just the left channel, you will just hear the. Let's get this. Just this. The. Hold on, I've got to turn the delay off. Just one sec. Where's my delay? Okay, so the left channel is just this. Okay, so if you listen to it in the headphones, just on the left channel, you'll hear that. What's happening on the right channel is we then have the delay, which gives it that 16th note feel. Now, the delay on the Deluge is a little bit sort of basic, so I can't sort of pan it and so on that I would like to do, because generally what you would do is you would pan the main bass line, the main bass note over to the left, and then the delay would be over on the right. But what I've done is, on the delay, we're using the ping pong delay. I have panned the bass line over to the left, okay, the bass sound. So it just gives a little bit of a sort of an echo over in the right on the ping pong. And then the delay settings, let's go from the bottom. We've got 24 on the rate, syncing it to 16th notes, using the analog delay, and then we're at 8 on the amount. Again, you can tweak it a little bit to taste. This is the one that I kind of found worked the best. Again, it's not perfect, but it does the job. In terms of the sound then, we're using both oscillators, both on full volume at 50. No transposition. What I'm doing is I'm using on oscillator 1 the analog square with a pulse width of 25, and then on oscillator 2 I'm using the analog saw just to give us a mixture of the two. Filter wise, the filter's fairly closed down, it's at 19, and then resonance is at 11. And I've also mapped the cutoff filter to envelope 2. Dialed in 20 on the envelope 2, and the envelope 2 settings are attack 0, decay 10, sustain 0, and release 0. And then the amp envelope is attack 0, decay 3, sustain 0, and release 0. I think I did a bit. Did I do some detuning on this? I can't remember. But the detune thing here is on 2 and unison, and 1 is on there. So, again, like I say, it's not perfect. If anybody can suggest any tweaks to make it sound even better, then feel free to let me know. So let's have a listen to those bits together. Take the pad off. Okay, so yeah, it's not a million miles away. Right, we then get this sound that does this. Why are we not hearing that? But anyway, let's just turn these off. We get this kind of sound that it's probably a delay thing that goes over like 4 bars, but I've just automated the volume down for this one. So a fairly simple sound again, using just oscillator 1, using the saw, and Filter's pretty much fully open at 46, 20 on the resonance. And that's pretty much it in terms of the envelope. 0 attack, 11 decay, 0 sustain, and 7 on the release. So if we listen to that in the context, let's put all of this on. And then basically all I did on that was I made it 8 bars because it kind of loops every 8 bars in the song. But what I basically did was, if I put you onto the volume and play it, you'll see I just automated the volume to go down over those first 4 bars. So you'll see this going down. Okay, so just program those notes in. It's basically every 3rd 16th note. And if you do that over 3 bars, it will kind of finish at the right place rather than, because if you only do 1 bar, it kind of jumps back to the first bit too soon. So that's just on C. I think I've been through the notes on the bass line. Yeah, I've been through the notes on those. I'll go on the other bits when it transposes. We then get this doop-doop kind of sound, this. Which I wasn't very happy with this sound. It's kind of close-ish, but it's just the first 2 eighths notes, like 1 and. Again, single oscillator. I'm using the analog square, 39 on the pulse width, 33 on the filter cutoff, 23 on the resonance. Don't think there was any patching. And then amp envelope, 0 attack, 0 decay, 50 on the sustain, 4 on the release. So pretty basic envelope. Don't need to worry about the other because I'm not using any other envelope. So that's that sort of sound, which again, that's probably one of the ones I'm least happy with. But that's all that first main section. So when I start the track off, what I do is, because it starts with this pad, and then I've just got all these mapped to the blue section. So obviously I can let that play as many times as I want. And then the doot-doot sound doesn't come in straight away, so I'll launch that. Coming in there. And then the pink section are the verses, or the verses and choruses. I'll explain what's going on in a sec, but I'll just launch that. Eventually. Okay, so the timing is a little bit out on these vocals. It's something I would probably just need to stick in Ableton Live and work on again a bit more. But they'll do for now. So, the verse and choruses then the verses are 24 bars long, if I remember rightly. You've kind of got an 8, a 4, a 4 and an 8 where the notes change and transpose up. So the drums are basically the same. Okay, so you've got the kick drum, the hi-hat and the snare. So this is just basically repeated this section round. What I've done for the vocals is I've split it up into 3 bits. I did this in Ableton Live and then exported it out. So this is first verse and chorus, that's second verse and chorus, and that's third verse and chorus. So as I go through each one, I would just have that one active and then that one active for each verse. I'm just trying to keep the project as simple as possible. That's the hi-hats. So the main differences on this one, obviously it's just down to the arrangement where the notes transpose up. So we're starting off with the first, the original bassline pattern there, which is your C, G and A sharp. So that plays for 8 bars. It then transposes up to D sharp, A sharp and C sharp. Not entirely sure. I think that's right. I just did this by ear, so don't shoot me if it's wrong. If people think it's different, then again, let me know in the comments. We can all work on this together. So that first transposition plays for 4 bars. It then goes up again to F, C and D sharp. Again for 4 bars. And then it goes up again for the last one, which it does for 8 bars, which goes to G, D and F. Okay, so again, it's the same sounds I've used before, just duplicated that that down. So Right, ignore that one. This is, which I'll kind of do a little performance thing of it at the end. This is, I kind of sort of doing a bit of a remix of it, and me being me has put some acid nonsense in it. Because if you know me, I just freaking put acid in everything. So ignore that. The other part we have then is the doo-doo sound, which basically follows the transposition on the notes. So we've got C for 8 bars, then goes up D for 4 bars, then to F for 4 bars, and then up to G for the last 8 bars. So that's basically just following the same notes as the bass line. Oh, sorry, voice went weird there. So what would happen is the first time through I play that, I would just make sure that I have this activated. Second time through, you'll see this as I change it when I do the performance. That'll be the second time, that'll be the third time through. And then we've just got the chorus, basically. So what happens with the chorus is the bass line, it does those four note transposition changes that we have in the chorus, but it's 1 bar of each. Okay, so let's put the scale button on. So we've got 1 bar of the original one, the C. Oh, no, we're not at the beginning. So we've got 1 bar of C, G, A sharp, 1 bar of D sharp, A sharp, C sharp. Again, not sure if that one's right. Another bar of F, C, and D sharp, and the final one of G, D, and F. And then we've got these chords that basically follow those notes. So I'm basically doing a couple of C's. And then the first one is, so we've got 3 lots of C's. And then we go into D sharp. Again, I'm not entirely sure I've got this 100% right, but it's close. So it's going for C and G, and then just a D sharp. I think there should be another note in that second one, but it sounds all right without. We're then going to F. Again, I've got a C in there as well. I don't quite know why I did these like this. And then we're going up to G and D. Something like that. But anyway, yeah, you'll hear that when hopefully that sort of makes sense. What's that? That's D sharp, F. But it's sort of following the same transposition as the bass line on the bass notes of the chords, and then it's just like doubling and layering them up as it goes through. And that is the same pad sound as the one I went through at the beginning. So it's the same pad sound as the one up at the top. I've then got on this bottom track, again, another slightly different sound, which, if I can just angle this over here and up, all I've done is MIDI mapped that to this keyboard on my iPad, okay, because I play this bit live. I'll angle the camera differently for the performance so you can kind of see what I'm doing a bit more. So yeah, even though I'm playing it on the iPad, it's still playing the sound of the Deluge. Let's just bring this back. So it's the pad sound I had before, just with a few tweaks, I think. So we've got oscillator 1 on 50, oscillator 2 on 33, transposed up by 3 semitones. So that's the same as it was before. We're using the analog saw on them. And then the low-pass filter is on 32. Resonance is on 22. Low-pass filter is mapped to LFO1 as it was previously on the previous one. I think it's just the resonance I changed slightly. LFO1 settings is 17 on the rate, syncs off, sine wave, and that's it. Amp envelope, 15 on the attack. I think I put a bit more attack on this one. 20 on the decay, 50 on the sustain, 38 on the release, and I think that's pretty much it. So, what you'll hear as I play it, I've then sort of done this. Let's get into this first section. I put this sort of acidy bass line in, which is this. Okay, just to res it up a bit really. And then I put some extra drums over the top. Okay, which I kind of mess about with as I perform it live. So that's pretty much it in terms of kind of putting the song together and how it all fits together. I will give it a quick play. Like I say, apologies for the vocals. Some of those are a little bit out of time. But it will do for now. So I'm just going to change the camera angle and then I will do a little performance. Okay, it's not the best camera angle in the world, but hopefully you can see everything that I'm doing. So let's give it a go. I only kind of I did this like about an hour ago, so this is like the third time I played it. So we'll see what happens. We'll give it a play. Man, that's a long release on that pad. Right, I was going to bring the camera back over here. Just going to finish off just a quick explanation on a couple of the bits that I did when I was playing that live. Okay, so just finish off quickly because this is going to get a ridiculously long video. It's going to last for days otherwise. Yeah, on the 303 part on the verses and the chorus, or the verse, basically what I did was I kind of copied down the original bass line and then just sort of messed about with some of the notes. So if I just play the bass line, the original bass line of the 303 part, you probably have to hear it a bit easier. Might help if I turned it up. Okay, so it's following the same notes, and I just put some random slides and timing and stuff in there. Okay, so that's what was going off there. When I go into the chorus, what I did was, because the I Feel Love line doesn't start on beat 1, it kind of starts, I think it's on beat 3 of the bar before. So that is all on this one track with the vocals, okay, as we said before. So when this bit's playing, all I then do is, because I need to change the bass line for the chorus, because it's different to the verse and there's the pad sound that is different. So what I'm basically doing is I'm leaving all the pink section playing, I'm stopping the dud sound, so, and then I'm just launching these 3, and this last one is the original, the other 303 line that comes at the beginning in the verses. So while the pink section is playing, as it gets to the chorus, I'm just launching those 3. So I'll just play that through just so you can sort of see what's happening there. So I'll just go through the I'll do it on the first verse and chorus, because that's the first chorus is a bit shorter than the second and the third. So when I get to the last bar of this, all I'm doing is I'm taking that one off and launching those 3 in the yellow section. So we're getting there, this is the last transposition. So on this last bar here, on this 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's still keeping the drums in the pink section going. Whatever that is, the hi-hat, that's all the drums, isn't it? The vocals in the pink section, so that's the vocals and the drums, but then what I'm doing is changing the bass line and the pad to the note that changes in the chorus and the different 303 line, which I hope makes some sort of sense. The only thing I didn't do in the song is, as you listen to it, there is like a phase digga 16th note thing going off, which I've not done because I ain't got a phaser on here. But that was enough anyway. I've spent hours on this as it is. So, yeah, I hope that, you know, it was useful from a sound design point of view, also from like recreating a song using just the Deluge. Let's say you can recreate it on any other synths. There's nothing, you know, it's just standard synthesis stuff, basically. So a bit of sound design, bit of how I sort of approach a remix, which is basically just take the original and put an acid line in it and some extra drums over the top most of the time, but hey, it seems to work. Yeah, and if you want to get hold of the Deluge project, then I'll put a link to that in the description. You will need to subscribe to my Patreon account for that, but it's $3.50 a month, which is you know, the price of 1 cup of coffee. But it does make a big difference to me, and it helps me keep the channel going, and hopefully, you know, improve on sound and video quality and everything else in the future. So go grab that if you wish, and yep, like, subscribe, share the thing around. Please feel free to comment if you think anywhere how I can improve on this. Then yep, open to any suggestions on those. And yep, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.